Hello and welcome to the Dan Beasley Show. Today we're going to be discussing today's news events and as well as the prophecy concerning these news events. This is Dan Beasley coming to you from Hartsville, South Carolina. The date is 7/8/2013 on a Monday morning. It's 9:54 a.m. Hope that you and your family had a good 4th of July week, and hope that you're in good health and strength, and that you're with us today listening in to this episode of the Dan Beasley Show. Let's get right into our news today. We're moving into a situation where the churches are being persecuted by crime and violence, and churches are starting to push back. Churches are boosting security as violent incidents grow. And Florida, and this is coming from Florida today as a source. This is the norm in in our world's culture. There is a need for security where we go nowadays," said Gilchrist, who oversees the security efforts at Freedom Christian, and also is the CEO of Opaque Security, the international company that trains churches and synagogues to protect congregations. We need to be prepared. Would you be prepared to defend yourself in other instances in a surprise attack? Find out what one courageous churchgoer did to protect others in the DVD Shooting Back, the Right of Duty of Self-Defense. And that's a link that you can go to from this WND.com story that originated from Florida today. Um, and you may be able to go to it and get more information. However, the article also goes on to say an increasingly common sentiment in churches, synagogues, and mosques nationwide as the number of deadly episodes at sanctuaries has soared over the last decade. Mass shootings at elementary schools, malls, and movie theaters have left Americans feeling like it could happen anywhere. And just last month, the federal government stepped in with its first ever report outlining security recommendations for houses of worship. And the 38-page plan, released just days after a man was shot and wounded during a Catholic Mass in Salt Lake City, advises congregations to plan for potential emergencies, including what police call random active shooting situations. Among the advice offered by the federal government is run, hide, or as a last resort, fight. Moving on to our next story, it comes from WND.com. This is originating from billygraham.org. I am a Christian. It says, will the false prophet, will the Antichrist be the Pope? That is the claim that the false prophet will find his seat in the Vatican in Rome. And it says a new documentary reveals that a centuries-old claim by Protestants that the Pope is the Antichrist has actually been taught by Catholic scholars from centuries past and may have been prophesied by a 14th century Catholic archbishop. The claim is one of many in the new WND film The Last Pope, which is based on the book Portrayus Romanus, The Final Pope Is Here by Tom Horn and Chris Putnam. This is the generation of Protestants, first generation of Protestants, as well as a great number of Catholics who do not believe that the Antichrist will find his seat in the Vatican in Rome, Horn said. Certainly the reformers believed that up until 50 or 60 years that was common eschatology. But what many Catholics don't know, it was also a common belief among their greatest scholars, the Catholic scholars. And discussions about the end times are a constant theme among Christians in all denominations, as well as speculation regarding the identity of the Antichrist. Some of the claims have ranged from sincere contenders to the absurd. And it says during World War II, some speculated that Adolf Hitler was the Antichrist because of his final solution policy to exterminate the Jewish people. However, the other names branded are also included Henry Kissinger and even Ronald Reagan. Basis for Reagan being the Antichrist was his full name, Ronald Wilson Reagan, in which part had 6 letters, or 666. The Last Pope delves deeply into the prophecies of Saint Malachi, an Irish saint and Archbishop of Armagh, who lived from 1094 to 1148. Malachus' prophecies of the popes is said to be based on prophetic vision of the 112 popes following Pope Celestine II, who died in 1144. Malachus' prophecies, first published in 1595, culminate with the final pope, Petrus Romanus, or Peter the Roman, whose reign ended with the destruction of Rome and the judgment of Christ. The film examines Malachi's prophecies, which are a series of statements that purportedly provide clues as to the identity of the 112 popes. In a critical light, some of the statements refer to a particular town, while others make reference to the coats of arms representing each pontiff. Skeptics have said the book is nothing more than a collection of phrases similar to the writings of Nostradamus. Putnam says people have a right to be skeptical, and if Malachi's revelations are correct, they should stand up to scrutiny using the scientific method. He goes on to say that they provide a fascinating insight into the history of the popes. The way the scientific method works is if you develop a hypothesis and you don't try to prove the hypothesis, then you try to disprove it. Putnam says it's easy to find the kind of confirming evidence if you go fishing around. A lot of these prophecies, I think, is a valid criticism. So anyway, that is in the news in the world of religion. Also, we have also in the news a story about the last 2012 election, how the technical tricks built Obama's 2012 juggernaut. And this is coming from WorldNet Daily as well, and it originated, from crossprecision.com, and it says that Barack Obama won the 2012 presidential election not based on superior policy, plans, or promises, but on his superior digital media strategy, voter intelligence efforts, and computer-backed get-out-the-vote practices, according to a new book. What went wrong is the inside story of the GOP debacle of 2012 and how it can be avoided next time by New York best-time-selling author Jerome R. Corsi, Ph.D., analyzes the Republican defeat and outlines a roadmap for our GOP success in 2016. It's more than a rehash of the campaign trail. It's called a critical blueprint and for a Republican surge in 2016. It says America is headed for an embrace with the vast tentacles of Obamacare, a huge flood of illegal aliens through amnesty, and increasing privacy concerns. Is that what Americans really voted for? The problem lies not with the values of the Republican campaign, but with the execution, the book says. No future Republican candidate will be able to win the White House unless the GOP can challenge the Democrats and digital media strategy, voter intelligence efforts, and deployment of computer-backed get-out-the-vote field technologies, the book contends. Both campaigns considered the outcome of the 2012 race a certainty. GOP candidate Mitt Romney's advisors were convinced that Romney would be elected, and Obama had no less confidence. But the carefully crafted strategy of the well-oiled and underestimated Democratic Party machine left Romney's team sitting in a heap of disastrous miscalculations, and America with 4 more years of Obama on 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue in Washington, D.C. For conservatives, the outcome of 2012 presidential election was a harsh wake-up call. Superior policy cannot surpass superior movement in a campaign. Corsi explains that Obama beat Romney with a sophisticated understanding of voters and ability to computer model them and communicate to them. Obama won as a celebrity, and Romney lost because he failed to fight, failed to communicate to the voters that he did care, and that his message of free enterprise could be applied across the board, even to the interested groups that the Democrats were appealing to. And anyway, moving along to the next story, and this is coming from Yahoo News. today. Mysterious deep space explosions baffle scientists. Um, they say that powerful and puzzling radio blasts in the other galaxies explode across the night sky, new study shows. A team of international astronomers have detected 4 explosive events known as fast radio bursts, which are FRBs, above the plane of our Milky Way. Lasting only a few thousandths of a second, these sources send powerful signals across the universe, traveling billions of light years through space. These bursts give off more energy in a millisecond than the sun does in 300,000 years, said principal investigator Dan Thornton of the University of Manchester in England. In studying this problem, observations by Sarazo Parkes radio telescope in Australia, Thornton and his team spotted 4 new point sources across the sky. The bursts ranged from 5.5 to 10 billion light years away, meaning that it took light from some of them 10 billion years to reach the Earth. The Big Bang that created our universe occurred 13.8 billion years ago, according to scientists. These newfound objects allowed the researchers to calibrate the FRBs and said that they should occur every 10 seconds. After the astronomers verified that the objects were not Earth-based, they questioned whether the new signals came from inside or outside the Milky Way, and to do so, they studied how the radio waves were affected by the material they passed through, a technique that could allow these new objects to shed light on the components of space. As the radio waves travel in space, they are stretched and slowed down by the ionized material through which they move. Using models, the team concluded that the FRBs travel billions of light years much further than the edge of Earth's galaxy, and they said that these are extragalactic in origin, not from the Milky Way, but the source is likely in another galaxy. Said although the explosions are brief, the astronomers can pinpoint the burst locations pretty accurately. Says they are so bright and narrow that we can limit the size of the emission region to at the source to just a few hundred kilometers. No corresponding object could be observed in optical, gamma, or X-ray length, so the explosion's origins remain unknown to scientists. They said that the FRBs happen in just a few milliseconds, and they're saying that it may be due to intersecting magnetic fields from 2 neutron stars, which are city-sized bodies packing the massive sun, and a special kind of supernova orbited by a neutron star could potentially produce radio bursts as the star's magnetic fields interact with the explosion of the supernova. And one of the favorite explanations is a giant burst from a magnetar. And these bursts of energies can produce a enormous amount of energy that are seen in the FRBs. From the world of science, we go now to the crash of the airliner that crashed in San Francisco. The Asiana plane that landed was a Boeing 777 at San Francisco Airport, and they said that the pilot tried to abort the landing. After coming in too slow to set down safely, aviation and airline officials said Sunday. It was unclear if the pilot's inexperience with the aircraft or airport played a role in Saturday's crash. Officials were investigating whether the airport, or the plane's equipment could have also malfunctioned. Also Sunday, San Mateo County Coroner Robert Folkraut said that he was investigating whether one of the 2 teenage passengers killed Saturday actually survived the crash but was run over by a rescue vehicle rushing to aid the victims fleeing from the burning aircraft. Remarkably, 305 to 307 of 307 passengers survived